Uh, Virgo, this one's been waiting for you. And look, I'm not going to ease into this one slowly tonight because what's coming through for you right now, it doesn't need a soft landing. It needs honesty, raw, direct, no filter honesty. And I think if you're being real with yourself, if that's exactly what you came here for tonight anyway. So, as always, take what lands, leave what doesn't. But I have a feeling, a strong feeling, that more of this is going to land than you expect. Three cards tonight, already pulled, already face up. And the moment I turn them over, I'll be honest, I stopped for a second because these three together for this theme, okay, first one, and I wasn't ready. Make yourself proud. Second one, HM. Yes, you can. And the third, oh wow, this is the one. Love yourself first. Let me ask you something before we even get into the cards. And I want you to actually sit with this, not just let it wash over you. When did you last do something, anything, purely because you wanted to, not because it would keep the peace, not because someone was expecting it, not because it was the logical, responsible Virgo thing to do, but because something inside you said, yes, this. For me, take a moment with that because there's something happening in your life right now. And this situation with this person is part of it, where the center of gravity has shifted, where somehow, without you fully noticing, the focus moved away from you, from what you need, from what you actually feel, and landed somewhere else entirely. Um, and here's the thing about that shift, it never happens dramatically. It's never one big moment where you hand yourself over. It's a thousand tiny moments, a small compromise here, a swallowed feeling there, a boundary that got softened so gradually. You barely noticed it disappearing until one day you look up and realize you've been managing everyone else's emotional landscape while yours has been sitting there, unattended, waiting. And this person, this person who is obsessing, who is spinning, who is reading every text twice and analyzing every interaction, they are living in a story about you that you didn't write, that you didn't agree to, that exists entirely in the gap between what they hope is true and what you've never actually confirmed. And maybe you've sensed it, that weight, that energy, the way certain conversations feel heavier than they should, the way their presence carries something unspoken that you keep choosing not to address. Not because you're cruel, not because you're playing games, but because naming it feels like a lot, like opening something you're not sure you're ready to deal with. But here's what I need you to hear before we go any further. The discomfort you feel about their feelings, that's real. But so is the discomfort you feel about your own. And tonight, these cards, they're not here to talk about them. They're here to talk about you. Okay, so the first one, make yourself proud. Not them proud, not your family proud, not the version of proud that gets validated externally through compliments, through approval, through someone telling you that you handled it well. You proud of yourself in private, in the moments no one else sees. And I want to be specific about what that actually means in this context. Because making yourself proud isn't about grand gestures. It's not about doing the heroic thing or the perfectly noble thing. It's about the small, quiet decisions, the ones that happen in real time when something feels off and you say something instead of swallowing it. When someone crosses a line you've been pretending doesn't exist, and you finally acknowledge it, even just to yourself. When you stop performing comfort, you don't actually feel to protect someone from a reality they're eventually going to have to face anyway. Because here's what I'm picking up with this card for you tonight, Virgo. There's a version of this situation you've been living in where you keep yourself small enough, vague enough, careful enough that nothing has to be confronted. Nothing has to be decided. Everything can stay exactly as uncomfortable as it already is, indefinitely, because at least that's familiar. And familiar, even when it's wrong, can feel safer than the alternative. But there's a cost to that, a quiet, accumulating cost that doesn't send you a bill all at once. It takes little pieces of your clarity, of your self respect, of that inner voice that knows, has always known what the right thing is, and making yourself proud, truly, privately, deeply proud, means listening to that voice. Even when it says something inconvenient, even when it asks something of you that you'd rather not have to give right now. Because a year from now, 5 years from now, you're not going to remember how comfortable you kept things. You're going to remember whether you were honest, whether you were real, whether you handled this in a way that the best version of you, the one you actually want to be, would recognize and respect. Uh, Next card, yes, you can. You know what's interesting? Really interesting about Virgos specifically in situations like this? You are one of the most capable signs in the entire zodiac. You can figure out almost anything. You can solve problems other people don't even know exist yet. You can hold more complexity in your mind at once than most people can handle in a week. And yet, when it comes to your own emotional life, when it comes to what you want, what you feel, what you need, suddenly everything becomes very complicated. Suddenly there are 17 reasons why now isn't the right time, why it's better to wait and see, why the logical thing is to not rock the boat. And I want to gently, very gently, call that out because the complication isn't real. Or rather, it's real, but it's not the point. The point is that somewhere underneath all those reasons, all that analysis, all that careful thinking. There's something you already know, something you've known for a while. And the reasons aren't about figuring it out, they're about not having to act on what you already know. Because acting requires something, it requires you to step out of the observer position, that comfortable, analytical, watching from a safe distance position, and actually participate in your own life, in your own feelings, in your own story. And yes, that's terrifying. But this card, these three words, are not here to minimize the fear. They're here to remind you that the fear and the capability exist in the same body at the same time, and you get to choose which one drives. You can have the hard conversation. You can be honest about where you stand. You can stop leaving things deliberately vague, because vague feels kinder than clear, when actually, most of the time, clear is the kinder thing for them. And for you, yes, you can. Not someday. Not when everything feels perfectly aligned. Now, as you are, with everything still unresolved, you can. Card number 3, love yourself first. I saved this one for last deliberately because everything we've talked about tonight comes back to this. And I don't mean love yourself first as a concept, as a phrase, as something you already know intellectually and nod along to without it actually changing anything. I mean it as a practice, a daily, unglamorous, sometimes uncomfortable practice of actually choosing yourself, not over everyone else, but before everyone else, as a starting point, as a non negotiable. Because here's what's really going on in this situation, Virgo. This person isn't just obsessing over you because of something you did or didn't do. They're obsessing because there's a version of you they've caught glimpses of, a warm, attentive, deeply present version that they can't stop thinking about. And that version of you is real. It's genuinely, completely real. But here's the question this card is asking: are you experiencing that version of yourself? Or is it only available to everyone else? Because that warmth you give so freely, that attention, that care, that presence, do you turn it toward yourself with the same generosity? Do you speak to yourself the way you speak to people you love? Do you give yourself the same patience you give to everyone around you who is struggling, who is figuring it out, who is human? Or do you hold yourself to a different standard entirely? One that is quietly, persistently, exhaustingly high, and wonder why you feel depleted? Loving yourself first in this situation right now means getting honest about what this dynamic is costing you, not what it's costing them, not what the right thing to do for them is, what it is costing you: your peace, your clarity, your ability to move through your own life without this weight sitting in the background of everything. And and when you get honest about that, truly honest, the next step becomes less about what they need and more about what you owe yourself, which is clarity, which is honesty, which is the courage to stop maintaining a dynamic that serves everyone's comfort except your own. That is what loving yourself first actually looks like in real life. Not a bubble bath, not a self care Sunday. The hard, quiet, internal work of deciding, I matter in this equation too. And I'm going to start acting like it. So, 3 cards, 3 things that have been waiting to be said. And I want to leave you with this tonight. Not a summary, not a wrap up, just one thing to carry with you. The person who is obsessing over you, the one spinning in the gap, reading between every line, they are looking for something from you that only you can give. Not love, not reciprocation, clarity. And the only way you find that clarity, the only way it becomes real enough to give, is if you find it in yourself first. That's it. That's the whole thing. Virgo, thank you for being here tonight. If something in this reading cracked something open, even slightly, drop it in the comments. I read every single one. Like, subscribe, you know the drill. And take care of yourself tonight. Really, I mean that.